Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyards channel. Today, Spencer and I are in what we call our lower garden or shade garden. It's slowly going to be transitioned into a nightshade garden, or otherwise known as a poison garden. I love having theme gardens in my yard because it helps me focus on the types of plantings that I want to do in those areas. And I love growing different kinds of medicine, and I love the history behind plants and the folklore behind plants. And there is a very, very long history of medicinal gardens that were specifically grown for some of those more poisonous, toxic kind of plants. Now, were some of those plants grown to do ill will? I'm sure that's true, but we have historical knowledge of that. But those plants were actually grown in a special area so that they were protected from the general public just grabbing a plant and eating it or using it. But there were specific properties to the more toxic plants that were used medicinally in very small dosages in the right circumstance that was actually medicine. It's kind of like a healthy person without cancer would not take chemo, but under the right circumstances, with the right supervision and the right knowledge being applied, people who are sick can receive those toxic components into their bodies and potentially be healed. I'm not planning on doing any kind of administration of poison into my daily life or use these things medicinally. I just think it's a really fascinating history, and I want to kind of embrace it and see how it goes. And specifically, we're just going to be growing plants that would grow in shade, so not all the toxic plants will be grown, obviously. But we'll go into more of that history and folklore and monks' gardens and the famous poison garden in Europe in another video. Today, we're really just prepping the space for a new experience. Aircraft flying overhead. And we've been kind of working in this area this summer, just cleaning things up. Got really overgrown and kind of neglected, and a little bit of that is because I don't have a focus for what's supposed to be here other than shade plants. So putting things in here with more of a purpose for me will help me pay more attention to this area. So today we're just going to be working directly underneath our deck and cleaning up these plants. All I want to do is cut them all back so I could see what I'm working with and know what needs to be moved. Almost every plant in here, large shrub anyways, is going to get moved to a different part of the garden. Not because they don't belong necessarily in the theme, but because they're not happy where they're living. And I want to move them. I want to keep them because I love the plant, and I want to put them somewhere they're going to thrive more. So let me turn the camera around and show you what we're working with today, and then Spencer and I are just going to jump into the project and get everything cut back. So at the beginning of this walk, we have crane's bill geranium that we're just going to be cutting back. We're not removing this, but this area is just going to look a lot cleaner when we're done. And same with these foxgloves, which are a nightshade, but they're done blooming for the season, so we're just going to cut those back. We're just going to be working on this border and not any of this stuff today. So to begin with, we have bear's breeches that just need some love. They just need to be cut back. They're looking a little tired. And then maybe a little fertilizer. And between the bear's breeches and this hydrangea, there is an astilbe hiding underneath here. You can see that darker foliage with a different leaf shape. Yeah, that's an astilbe, and I would like to move it out of the garden into another area where it could kind of show off in a different shady area. This hydrangea, even though it looks full and healthy and it's just starting to open the majority of its blooms, I'm going to cut it way back, which might seem a little ridiculous right now because it's not the right time of year to do that. But I'm ready to renovate this area, and she's getting moved. She's gonna get moved up to the upper garden. Basically, I'll be able to see her right through that rhododendron when she's in bloom. And that way she can get, you could see our blue rhododendron from down here. Right there. This plant wants to get just that big. And it can get that big underneath the deck, but it would also take up the walkway. And we have this pallet walkway because this area stays really wet. And the closer to the creek it gets, the higher the water table. And it's really uncomfortable to walk around in most of the year, and pretty much impossible to walk around in early spring and winter, which is why we've done this, so we can get around our garden all year long. Anyhow, I'm going to cut this guy all the way back. We're going to save the blooms. We're going to preserve a couple of them. We're going to use some for a flower arrangement today. And then beside that, we have an oak leaf hydrangea. And this guy is looking better than it has ever, but it is also in the wrong place. It's stretching. So the limbs are super, super tall or super stretched out. See all that bare stem? It's like 4 feet of bare stem and then a little poof of foliage. So I'm going to strategically cut this back to try to preserve as much as I can so that I can easily move it without sacrificing too much of the plant material, since it's like the happiest it's ever been. It's not going to be happy with me moving, I'm sure. But then I have this Durvilla, which is being smothered by these perennial ferns, which I'm going to cut back today just to see what's going on here. It's mostly dead. So I definitely want to try to dig it up and move it into a sunnier location and see if I could get it to rejuvenate. But there's a lot of dead on it. It's definitely not happy. This mountain hydrangea, we are going to leave here. It has really sturdy stems. It's full. It's about to burst open everywhere. It is getting absolutely eaten to bits by earwig. You can see the leaves. So that's something that I need to treat. But the plant itself is happy in this location. So it's going to stay here. In front of this border, and then somewhere there's an astilbe right here that I'm also going to move into the area. We're going to move that astilbe. In front of this border, I have a little perennial here that's struggling. I have to make a decision about. We've got heuchera all riddled all through here. And all I'm going to do with these is just cut back its spent blooms, and it'll just look a lot cleaner. There's spent blooms kind of everywhere. I'm not going to worry about weeding in this area. We've got a lot of woodruff, which I love. We've got some variegated saxifraga, which I love. But today I'm just going to worry about cutting back these big shrubs to see exactly what I'm dealing with. I'm not even going to be doing any moving of the shrubs today. It's just going to be cutting everybody back and seeing what's going on. If we have a little bit of time, I'm hoping to move the perennials, the two astilbe, and then we have a couple of hostas on this side of the walk that I want to move as well. So if I have time for those 4 perennials to get moved, I'll start on the moving process. But the big shrubs, I have to pull some ivy and pull some vinca and do some other arranging to make space for those bigger shrubs to get moved. So it's going to take, a little bit more. But I really just needed to see how big are the crowns of those plants for reals, and what else is under there that I'm forgetting because it's all overgrown. It'll just be easier to clear my brain when that space is cleared. So let's go ahead and get to it. And I should mention, I'm just using hand snips and loppers as needed. Mostly it's just going to be hand snips as we cut back all these things. And of course, Spencer's going to come behind me and pick up limbs and stuff like that. We'll just use our gorilla cart. We've got a couple of kneeling pads. I don't even know if I'll be on my knees in this project because everything's so big. But yeah, pretty straightforward, just some pruners. Well, that didn't take very long, maybe 30 minutes, to just expose each one of these shrubs, cut them back to a manageable size so that we can get them moved, and weeded a couple little areas. Let me show you what it looks like, and then Spencer's grabbing me a shovel, and we're going to dig up these 4 perennials and get them moved. Go ahead and start right here. Spencer weeded all the geranium down. I just need to rake it out, maybe put a little mulch on there and tidy it up. I still need to cut back my foxglove. That'll take 2 seconds. I've got a little pile of hydrangea blooms that I'll stick in a vase here in a minute. Spencer's also grabbing me a vase with some water. And then along the border, we just cleaned up the bear's breeches, removed all the volunteer crocosmia, cut back this hydrangea quite a bit, and pushed everybody in closer to the crown so we can see where the crown is, and anything that was like big long arms we cut off. I still might do a little bit more trimming once it gets transplanted to kind of shape it and encourage stronger branching. But now we can fully see this whole astilbe, so we can dig it out easy. This hydrangea, I really just took off the really big arms and left a lot of the canopy there. The Durvilla, I just cut out all of the dead stalks. We removed all the ferns around it, and it looks a little better. It looks a little sad, but it looks better than it did. So I'm still holding hope that it'll bounce back to life when I put it in a sunnier location. And that's kind of it. I guess I could have exposed my astilbe there a little bit better, but I can see it well enough behind the hosta and everything, so I think I could dig that out without too much of an issue. And then I did a little bit of deadheading on all the heuchera just to kind of clean it up. I still need to get in here and deadhead all the saxifraga. So it's got all these little dead stalks. It's just a little time consuming and not a high priority of mine right now. I really just wanted to see each shrub so I can handle it appropriately. Now, we are also going to be digging up this little hosta and this hosta and moving it. This one because it's like not doing ideal. This one because it's right on our pathway. This is what's called a desired pathway. We didn't know we would be using this area as a pathway so much when we built this. So we thought we would just like plant each pocket. But we've discovered that we actually go this way around this garden and to different access points all the time. So she kind of gets trampled, and I think she'll be happier in a different place. All right, let's dig up some astilbe and hostas and get them moved. right, I decided to leave this as still be because the plant actually looks really good. It fits in this space just fine. It's blooming, it looks beautiful. And the astilbe that we picked up from down there that was a little scrawny is a burgundy color. And there was like 3 or 4 plants. So I'm just gonna divide those and put them in the raised bed that I'm putting, the 2 different raised beds that we're putting them in. But you can see everything's kind of cleaned up, and that's all we're gonna do down here for today. And now we're gonna head upstairs with those 4 plants, or the 3 plants, I guess, that we pulled up out of the ground, and we're gonna plant them in a couple of raised beds in the shade garden upstairs right away, because that way they're just gonna be happy and somewhere that they can live for a while. Also, before we get too far, we moved these little containers that were underneath this dogwood tree the last time we were down here cleaning up, and they have these little tiny hostas which are getting eaten to pieces. Fun. Feather boas, and there's like a little cluster of them in here, and there's a really nice cluster of them in here, but I'm gonna dig these out as well, and they're gonna come upstairs with me to be placed in the raised beds too. All right, so now we are in our backyard. This is our raspberry patch. We've got our cattle panel arch right here that we're growing clematis on, and behind that we have a bench, and behind the bench we have a couple of raised beds that used to get a lot more sun, and we've grown gladiolas in there successfully in the past, but now they just don't get enough sun. And because our maple tree has gotten bigger, and now we're training this clematis to shade this area even more, and the greenhouse does a little bit of the shading as well. So now we just need to find different plants to go in there. So we're collecting all of our baby hostas. They're not even babies, they're just like miniature hostas. What were you calling it? Mini Hostabalosa. And we're gonna plant those like in a big mass of like 3 different varieties of, maybe 4 different varieties of small hostas in like a little collection, as well as a backdrop of the astilbe, which will be fun because they'll reach above the back of the bench, so we could see them just from, you know, walking around in the garden. But then when you go to sit down on the bench, you'll see this like mass of different textures and colors of hostas. So let me show you what that's gonna look like, and then I'm gonna get back there and Spencer's gonna hand me the plants because it's a tight squeeze and we can't get the gorilla cart back there with all the plants in it. So you could see behind here, Spencer built these raised beds for me years ago. It's they're a rain barrel cut in half lengthwise and set kind of cradle style on a frame with legs, and we drilled holes in them, and we've, you know, replaced the soil a few times. We're going to top dress it with some raised bed mix. I need to remove these gladiola bulbs that are left over, and we'll just transplant them out someplace that they're happier. You can see they produce the leaves, but there's just not enough energy for flower. And then just make sure there's no weeds left in there, and then we can top dress it and plant the hostas. And I'll go over the specs of the hostas as we go along. I think this is, I don't know what these are. Okay. Okay.
I hear music in the background.
So, first one is we've got this little guy who we can't remember the name of, but I have records, so I'll try to look it up and put it in this on the screen. I'm gonna remove her flower stalks. And so I think this one's gonna go over here a little bit, slightly shadier than that side. In the middle, we know that this one doesn't get much bigger than this, a little bit better of a canopy when it's not slug eaten.
Yeah.
I picked a slug off of it just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I treated like it just last night. I treated it just last night too.
Yeah, it was a little baby one. So, then we've got these curly fries. Super cute,
Hey,
wavy margins.
look at the picture. That color may be okay.
Huh?
That color may be okay. Look at the picture.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like French fries.
Yeah. I was thinking you're getting too much sun. And it actually okay.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a little bit of burned tips here and there, but it's not worried about it. So these ones are 4 to 8 inches tall and 14 to 18 inches wide. So not much taller than they are right now, maybe a tiny bit wider. And this poor little thing has been in this container for quite some time.
A long time.
There's clearly 2 plants in it, so I'm gonna divide them. Oops. There's 3 plants in it. Okay.
More plant mass coming
Might
out.
need my hori. I don't know. I'll be back in a second.
And it's on the shelf. The surgery begins. Oh, nice.
I don't know if that'll make it, but okay. We're gonna do this over here. All right, and then Spencer's got some more
Oh, you on her?
hostas for me.
What you on her? The
But why don't you give me the single one over there?
This is something. Miss Ruby. Miss Ruby.
Miss Ruby. So, in the right conditions, her stems get really dark red. And this gets 12 inches by 15 inches. We're gonna put this one
Does it want to
in the middle of this one. Right. I'll just go ahead and plant this now so her roots aren't exposed.
I like those pretty fries.
It's cute. Okay. This tag back here. This one. Tag, oops. Tag right there. Okay. Then we have our feather boas that we need to plant. Okay. So I'm actually gonna take both of those from you. I'm gonna kind of divide them all up. One clump is way healthier than the other one. So these are feather boas, and they get 8 inches by 10 inches, so very similar to the curly fries. Just gonna divide them up and kind of weave them around. Maybe one more. This one. Okay. Oops. Okay. It's just... Okay, now we've got all of the hostas in. I'm gonna do the stilby. Okay, so there's actually a few clumps. It's clumped out, so we're just gonna divide them kind of how they want to be. You know, I didn't put any biotone in any of this. This one's broken.
Right.
These were astilbes that I got from a Master Gardener sale. These ones are broken too. Okay. This way. That's it. I'm gonna top dress these with some biotone because I forgot. Water them in, and then we have one more hosta that we're gonna put in the ground that we just moved up from upstairs. Sorry. Stinky. All right, we have just one more hosta that we pulled up. This is the hosta that was kind of in our walkway path, and it gets 4 foot by 5 foot, so clearly not going to go in those little raised beds. But we thought it would be kind of nice to cap this lawn pathway that we have that's kind of ends at this rhododendron, but it would be kind of cool to have something below the rhodie to soften that edge up a little bit. So we're going to plant this hosta just underneath the rhodie a bit.
You gonna take it out?
What?
You gonna take it out?
Sure. I remembered. String. Weird.
Okay. I think in general we have here there.
What?
I think in general it will be happier there.
Yeah, I think so too. It's gonna get a little bit more sun, and they want, this one is supposed to have a blue tint, and the ones that have blue tints like a little bit more sun, so I think it will be better over here.
And there's less slug pressure.
We planted it a little high.
I think there's less slug pressure here too.
Less slug pressure. Yeah, and I think that the camellias like having these hostas here because we don't normally water our rhodies rather through the summer, but the ones that the hostas are under now have like a darker green and glossy leaf because they're getting like residual water from the hostas.
I have noticed that.
Yeah, and we'll probably be more inclined to fertilize them with the hostas around too. So It's like a good symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
So, welcome, Blue Umbrella. Do your thing. All right, so there she is, a little riddled with slug damage, but you know, we have a few weeks to push a little bit more growth for our hostas, and hopefully it'll kind of do a little bit of a rebound. I'm leaving these damaged leaves on there because those are the, like, if I took them off, they wouldn't have any leaves, and that's how plants photosynthesize, is with some greenery. So this is gonna give some energy to those roots, which the roots need all the energy they can get to rebound and come back next spring with a vengeance. So I'm excited about this. It'll be really nice to have like this whole area covered by a hosta. Oh, just a little bit of a backed up view. We planted it straight ahead, the Blue Umbrella hosta. And earlier this summer we planted these 4 hostas, and they're two of the same. Is that making any sense? These are Woolalas, and they get 6 feet wide, so they're going to cover this whole area and touching. And then, what are these, sun golds?
I think so.
Coast to coast. I don't know why I can't remember that. These are the Shadowland coast to coast hostas, and they get 3 foot wide. So this one will be, you know, over here, and this one will barely touch, and that kind of caps this walkway. And then we'll walk down a little further, and we've got the Blue Umbrella, which is a nice big hosta that'll fill in that area. We may think about one that likes a lot deeper shade and put it right here, just to have some kind of a continuum of hostas up here. But really excited to have, we have a lot of hostas in the backyard now.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. But we need to add more downstairs once we revamp it, because we kind of took them all away because they weren't happy. But I think once we revamp it, we'll have a better lock on where they can be. To kind of show you where one of those hostas came from, they came from Spencer's little corner garden, and it was down there. You can't really even tell that there's a hosta missing. You know, it was tucked up underneath there, and it wasn't like super happy under there. I'm gonna give you a look at the raised beds from this side. You can see we've added all the little hostas, the feather boas, curly fries, this cutie pie, and then the astilbe. And I did cut back a couple of the astilbe just because they were completely broken anyway, so wasn't gonna help anything. Right now the hostas look a little sad between transplanting and the watering. But I'm confident that they're gonna perk up. And then we did 2 astilbes here, and we've got this columbine that was already here, and then astilbe in the back. So those will get, you know, 24 to 32 inches tall back here, and then all the shorty hostas in the front. I think that's gonna be really pretty. So essentially from this viewpoint, we're gonna see all the astilbes with their fluffy flowers, and then when we sit down and look down, we can see this like mat of variety of hostas. And that is gonna be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really happy to have gotten some progress done in that lower garden. The vision is becoming more clear. And when I have the opportunity to move things around like that, and then do a quick little project that revamps a tiny section, inspires me to go into the bigger pieces that I need to work on, like that entire lower garden, which we're going to continue to work on over the next couple of weeks. We're going to kind of give some other places in the garden some facelifts, and then we really will have space to move some plants that we have in other areas of the garden that are going to get moved into that space. So we'll be able to fill that area pretty quickly with the right plants in the right place. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're celebrating your life, and I hope you continue to hang out with me in this journey as I create a new garden space and you know, restructure, revamp a new area that's just a little tired and overgrown, and it's time for something fresh and new and exciting, and that inspires me to keep going. And until the next video, keep celebrating your life and take care. Bye.